Hello everybody and welcome to another Deal Plays video where I, SUNSfan, and you, syndereN, and we,
That's me.
yeah, that's you, talk about Neil playing the hero that we're doing a guide for, which of course today is Lich. Whether he plays well or fails doesn't really matter as long as we get to talk about things that he could have done better, etc.,
And things
etc.
that he does well.
I
Assuming
guess.
that happens.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, let's jump into it. So Neil is playing Lich. He's playing the support role in this game. The team has 2 couriers, so they start out great. Should have probably only had 1. I don't know who bought it, actually.
Oh boy.
I didn't notice that.
Oh
And,
boy.
okay. Starting off a little hard here. He's gonna survive this, and don't worry about it.
I don't think he used sacrifice on a creep
Yeah.
to start the game.
We should talk about that immediately, because the way you want to start out with Lich, which I think the reason Neil was late to this was either he was AFK or I don't know, there was some communication between the team or something, so he came out of spawn late. But he's supposed to go and deny a creep right away when the game starts, and he didn't do that. You generally do it in mid or in the off lane to help your solo get a better start.
Oof.
Yeah, he's also playing really aggressively. In addition to that, now he did sacrifice on the lane. The problem is he sacrificed in range of the enemy heroes, and the way sacrifice works is you remove a creep, you gain mana, and you get experience for the creep. But if you do it in range of the other heroes, the experience is shared between everyone in range. So you want to use this outside the range of at least the enemies, maybe of your lane mate too, so you can get a fast level 2 or 3, which is really important for support Lich. So.
Oh boy, Enchantress is here, but the Avalanche... Oh, nice Reality Rift. Be enough for the first blood. So I mean, they are going up against a tiny Invoker lane, so not the strongest, of course.
Yeah, it looks like Enchantress knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, good start there. So, this is... What is going to happen now, or what should happen now, is that because of those ganks, Neil will be level 3. You either get second point Sacrifice or second point in Frost Blast. He's going to get Sacrifice, which is fine. He's pretty much out of mana, so he will need to eat a creep. Again, would not recommend using it like this. In this scenario, or this situation, just go back to the next creep wave and deny it there. He could have got a full HP creep, he would have got all the experience for it, and Invoker wouldn't have got it. Maybe Neil is stuck in the old version of Sacrifice.
He didn't read our
just
guide?
remove the creep from the game, basically.
Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
He didn't actually read our guide that we sent him?
Maybe he's just not so smart.
Oh, syndereN, so mean. Neil's such a nice guy, though.
He is. He
Except
just
when
needs
he
to play
rages.
better. Alright, here we go. I think he figured it out. There we
Okay.
go. So
Beautiful.
this sacrifice, he got full mana from it pretty much because it was a full HP creep, and he was out of the range of the experience, range of the enemies. So he shared it with Chaos Knight, which is pretty much, yeah, it's what you want to do in almost every single case. Either split it with your mate or go back and get it alone. In some cases, you can share it with the enemy team, but that's mainly if you suddenly need the mana on the go to go for a kill or for some crucial harassment. Else, I would not recommend doing that.
Now, one thing I want to talk about before I forget, actually, and it's kind of weird that we're doing this. I don't know if it matters to you guys watching, but I actually make the guides after this video because I'm lazy. But the reason I mention that is because I don't know if I mentioned this yet or if I'm gonna mention it in the guide. But his Frost Blast, a lot of people don't know. It's like 2 instances of damage. I don't know if it actually works that way, but from an outside perspective, it kind of is because it deals an initial nuke and then an initial AoE around that, and the main target takes both. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, grouping them up is actually really important to be able to get the most effective Frost Blast possible.
At the end of the day, though, the most important thing is that he keeps using them regularly. Which,
Right.
when you're support Lich, since you have this built-in mana regain ability, make sure you Frostblast. Jesus Christ, Neil, go and use it on the wave behind. Make sure you use it as often as possible, because you know you can regain your mana. So it's a 30-second cooldown at the moment on his sacrifice, or sorry, 36. So he can Frostblast on every single creep wave, basically, and regain the mana he just used, if he does it. So this is a very standard build, going 2-0-2. In very few cases it can be worth it getting Ice Armor on level 4, but I would generally say that, yeah, this is a very rare thing to do, actually. So much more frequent to do it this way, they're gonna get tiny.
Goodbye, Tiny. Avalanche not going to do enough. That is a baby tornado if I've ever seen one. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get Invoker. One thing I do want to mention, they are going against a team of a lot of right-clickers, I guess you could say. At least 3 if you don't count Invoker. But I think Invoker to some degree can be considered a right-clicker exort. least early game. But anyway, Lich's skills, 3 out of the 4 skills, slow movement speed and attack speed. This is really interesting. And I remember when it used to be not that. Like, I think that's good English, I know. I think in the last year, I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, in the last year, a lot of the slows in the game, it's not all of them, but a lot of them have been upgraded to slow attack speed as well. As we're going to see initiation from Tiny again. Just can't get the toss avalanche combo off correctly. Luckily for Neil.
I guess this is why Neil showed us this replay. 5 HP escape.
What a pro, Juke. I'm going to put this in the top plays, I think.
Yeah, it's true. Quite a few abilities were actually changed to start slowing attack speed. I'm not completely sure how it used to be with Lich. It's a long time ago, but both Ice Armor slows by 20. Frost Blast slows by 20. And so does Chain Frost. So yeah, you're right. All 3 slow by 20 on the attack speed. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why Neil gets Tranquil Boots and why it's good and why it's almost always the best choice on Lich. In this case, he's playing support, but if you're playing offlane, Tranquils, it's kind of a no-brainer why they're good in the offlane. It gives you the movement speed you need to avoid getting ganked, and it allows you to regen up when you've taken damage so you can sustain alone in the lane. Now, as a support, however, yeah, he just gets a killer, very well done, you know, goes in, Frost Blast, Chaos Knight follows up, and he gets another Frost Blast. This ability has an 8-second cooldown, so if you just chase, you'll get multiple ones off. And this is where Tranquils are interesting on Lich. So he has a mana regain ability in Sacrifice, so if his boots can regain health, it means he can take trades with enemy supports and laners and come out on top every single time. Because he just needs to back off a bit, wait for the regen to kick in, use Sacrifice, and he's good to go again. That's the first thing. The second thing is, he has 405 move speed with these, which is insane. So it's very easy for him to catch up and reach the Frost Blast ranges he's doing right now. Now, the first time he attacks, he loses the movement speed. What you can choose to do with Lich is you can go forward and Frost Blast, and then not attack. And then you're a 400 move speed harassment bot running around on the lane and just throwing Frost Blasts all the time. It's really damn good.
Would you consider Lich an easy hero overall?
I feel like I wouldn't say any hero in the game is easy.
Well, there's always a skill cap. Like pros can always take it to the next level, but for like general play, would you consider him easy?
Yeah, in terms of understanding the hero and playing it in lane, I feel like it's one of the more straightforward supports because it's about sustained harass. It's not about landing spells that are hard to hit like Linus or Lishrak's stun. Both of your abilities are targeted in Frost Blast and Chain Frost, and the concept of the hero, I think, is one that most people will pretty quickly understand. The main thing you need to know is how Sacrifice works, which in the first part of this game it seemed like Neil wasn't sure about or just didn't care, but I think he didn't care enough. So I think that's, you know, when you're playing this hero, don't underestimate how much Sacrifice actually means. It's not about only gaining the mana, the experience is crucial. Here we go, stun from Chaos Knight. Oh,
need them sentries.
No sentries.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't
he's
buy
gonna
them
have
either.
to buy that. He might buy that now, or regular observers, or upgrade the second courier to flying, so they have 2 birds. Awesome.
Looking at their team, they don't have the greatest synergy, but I think the one thing you can look at for team fight would be, because anytime I think of a Lich, I think of his ult, because it can be just absolutely awful, or it could be amazing. We just see Viper coming for the kill, and wow. Well, he's gonna get 1 bounce. Is that gonna be enough to actually get the kill? I doubt it. He's gonna have to run away. Lion Hex, goodbye.
He might try to trade here. This is good if he gets it.
Oh, he doesn't. That was really close, actually. But anyway, what I was gonna say, Darkseer, Lich, 2 good heroes for team fights, but they don't have a ton of setup for that, so not the greatest synergy. Of course, this is a pub game, so you can't blame them a whole lot.
Yeah, what you generally want to have with Chain Frost is something that locks heroes in place, like AoE stuns, something like Chronosphere, Ravage, that kind of big AoE ability that just holds the enemy so you can get multiple bounces. And speaking of bounces, that there was kind of a panic Chain Frost from Neil, and what you want to pay close attention to when you're playing Lich is the move speed of your enemies, because Viper came in with a haste, and Neil saw that. He Frost Blasted him first, so he knew the Viper could bend off, and Chain Frost is a slow projectile. So while it's in the air, you can start running away, and then because of that, it didn't even bounce once. He only hit the initial blast. So what if he would have waited? If he would have Frost Blast first, wait for Chaos Knight's stun, and then see the situation develop, because there was no reason to cast the Chain Frost that early in that scenario. Maybe a creep comes close enough to bounce off while he's stunned by Chaos Knight, and if he gets that 1 extra bounce, the Viper dies there, and that could have been a different case. So it's kind of an art. using Lich's ulti very well. It is pretty damn hard to use this ability, I think. It's something a lot of people underrate about the difficulty of the hero. Since it's so dependent on enemy positioning to use effectively, sometimes it's better to hold it for a bit, and sometimes you hold it too long. And that's something that takes a lot of experience.
Well, Neil, on his way to getting a lot of experience, level 7 at the moment, as they just took part in a kill for Viper. Lich is pretty fast, isn't he? Actually, I haven't looked at the comparisons on move speed. He's one of the faster base supports, right?
Yeah, he is perhaps the fastest support, or the fastest hero that is generally considered a support, I think, together with Skywrath Mage from the new version. Skywrath now has 325. He used to have 315.
Right. Is 330 the highest?
Sorry?
Is 330 the highest in the game, Luna?
Yeah, that's Luna. And then 325 is Skywrath and Chaos Knight. And I think Keeper of the Light has 310 or 315. I can't remember which one. So he's fast too. But Lich, definitely one of the fastest supports. I want to talk a little bit about Neil's skill build. So this is also something that's mentioned in the guide, is that you mostly level up Frostblast first, but sometimes it can be worth it to get a 303 build where you get many points in Sacrifice. It's going to give you more XP gain, it's going to get your mana flowing even better. But since Sacrifice level 2 gives as much mana as it does, in most cases it's better to just have the highest level of Frostblast to make sure you get the kills.
So what does Neil go for here? We talk about it in the guide a bit, which I haven't made yet, but we will talk about in the guide, which I'm sure you guys have watched first, hopefully. Mech is typically the go-to item on a Lich, and I may or may not have snuck a peek at the items at the end of the game. I don't know if you did as well, but
I think he's gonna get an Ag Scepter.
Yes.
Yeah, he should be getting the mech, but since they have an Enchantress getting it, he doesn't. And that's the only reason here. Lich is one of the best mech carriers in the game. The reason being he can really benefit from the tank ability that it gives. It's a support hero that generally tends to get decent amounts of gold to actually allow for picking it up. Okay, they might not get this guy heal TP out.
The Lich
if heal wasn't stunned that long, he could have stopped the TP with Chain Frost. Need to mention that it has a mini stun on cast on the one target you cast it on. So even if they're BKB'd and TP, this mini stun actually goes through.
Yep. And just to stress what you just said, I know you just said it, but you didn't say it in a way I think all people understand. The projectile doesn't have to hit them; it's just on the actual cast. So
yeah,
it's pretty much instant.
Directly when you cast it. You're right. It actually, at some point, it was bugged in Dota 2, so it had to reach the target before the mini-stun was applied. That was fixed.
Indeed.
And a little bit... Okay. Neil's dead, I think.
No. Oh! Took the finger right to the face! When do you, as playing a Lich player, I'm going to call you a Lich player from now on, when do you get Ice Armor?
So, generally you get it on level 8. That's the most standard thing to do. Great focus, Neil. He probably tabbed after he died. Okay, now he's going to show a bit of the fight. You generally get on level 8. It's approaching the early stage of the mid game when armor starts becoming a lot more important. And like you said, he's playing against 3, maybe even 4 heroes that do quite significant physical damage. So Ice Armor is going to be really good. So now you would probably get 1 point, and then it varies a little bit whether you want to max out Sacrifice after that, or if you want to max out Ice Armor. I would say, in most cases, you still max Sacrifice, but if the enemy team has really heavy physical damage, you can max Ice Armor, or if you're playing a pushing strategy that revolves around getting towers early, that 9 extra armor for all your team should really not be underestimated. It's sick. But the slow is the same on all levels, the cooldown is the same on all levels, and the mana cost is the same. So the only thing you upgrade is 2 extra armor per point.
What in the world? And he got out. Well, I guess I kind of want. I don't want to see if CK's stun was off cooldown or not, but yeah, we did sneak a peek on the items. He's gonna be going for Ags. Of course, he's complete ward bitch in this game. I would also say that Force Staff would be an excellent choice just in general. I think that would have been way better than Ags, but we'll talk about Ags in a second.
I agree.
A Pipe would be pretty good, but I know that Darkseer's picking that up as well. So I talked to Neil before this game. He's like, yeah, I couldn't get the mech because, like you said, Enchantress picked it up, the Pipe by Darkseer. So what's next? I don't think Ags is next on my list, despite it being buffed.
Yeah, the thing is, the thing Ags does for this hero is actually a really powerful upgrade. Many people put a lot of emphasis now on the fact that it makes it bounce endlessly. But I still feel like the bigger point in upgrading the ult on Lich is the increased damage, because how often does the Chain Frost bounce more than 10 times, which is the bounce limit, I think. So
Well, if you
okay,
put it
Neil's
on
gonna
Ancients, you know,
He's getting out.
it'll bounce
Yeah,
every
you
time.
can make that funny play with the Ancients, which I guess we should explain really briefly. Is that since the Ancients don't get killed by it, you can start stacking up Chain Frosts at either your Ancients or the enemy Ancients, and then you can lead them into a trap. There's a couple of videos with that you can check out. It's pretty fun. But that's, you know, that's just a gimmicky play. That's not really the main reason. So I would say getting Ags on Lich, of course you still get the stats, you get health, mana, and of course Tentacles attributes, but if you want to go for the Ags upgrade on this hero, I feel like you pretty much only do it if you expect to be able to use the bounces very well. So if you expect to be able to use them more than the 10, so you get the unlimited usage of it, then it's absolutely awesome. That's something that mainly happens against illusion-based heroes like Naga Siren, against Meepo, or against lineups that have a lot of summons and go heavy push style. You know, that's actually an interesting thing. One of the counters to Lich, which we mentioned in the guide, is Chen, who, when he has three high HP creeps, the Chain Frost can just keep bouncing between them and you don't really do much. But if you have Ags, you'll just keep bouncing it. So then that's a way of kind of counteracting teams that try to counter your Chain Frost by limiting the bounces of jumping on creeps. So
oh, that's actually a really good bounce on the Canadian.
this
Oh,
is
nice
great
sentry.
Chain Frost. Very,
Great
very
sentry,
good, but there's no follow-up.
Yeah, that's too bad. Oh, there is a Death Prophet, I should say, but Neil will find
He
himself
still set
dead.
her up very well to get a kill or two here.
That was actually, I'm actually impressed. That sentry was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Don't think it
That
actually
was
made a difference, but
perfect. So great sentry placement, and then the Chain Frost bouncing. This is a really good example of how Chain Frost can be most powerful. If there are two heroes that are close to each other and there's nothing else it can bounce off, you do so much damage to both of them that they absolutely have to spread out. So either you kill them, or they take ridiculous amounts of damage, or you force them to spread, which sometimes is really important too. Is that this skill is not only about dealing the damage, but also about controlling fights, where you can kind of, if you can imagine, it's kind of pushing the enemy team in a direction, or forcing them to spread out, and that can make a difference in how you take the fights. So that was a really nice Chain Frost there, I have to say, and gave them 3 kills.
I have a random question for you, because we haven't really mentioned Ice Armor a whole lot yet. I remember it was buffed, I'm not sure how long ago, as we might have a team fight here. I might have to hold off on this, as Neil's going to tank the arrow for his team. Very nice. No. And we'll drop as a result. Ice Armor, I know recently it was buffed to be used on buildings, and I want to talk about that a bit, but first, the buff before that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't used to affect ranged heroes, meaning the debuff that they would get, and now you get half the effect, if that makes sense, instead of just melee. Is that sound accurate to you?
Yeah, it got changed so that the attack speed and movement speed slowing effect works 50% on ranged heroes. You're absolutely right.
I mean, it didn't used to do anything to them, right?
Exactly. It only used to give the armor, which obviously works against any sort of physical damage, but yeah, that got changed. That's very true. And this is actually the first thing that, if you remember I think you remember there's an ogre creep in the jungle. So the frost armor or ice armor ogre in the jungle, this was the first step kind of to make these abilities more different. Because I think that was point of the criticism about that, was that the ogre creep and Lich's ice armor were too similar, and now that's one of the differences. I really don't believe the ogre ice armor works on ranged heroes. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I would have seen it then. I would have read it, or I don't remember seeing that anywhere. I think only Lich's does that.
Yeah, I think you're. I mean, if they did change it, they would have done that without actually putting it in the notes, like secretly put it in or something. I think normal to get at least a casual level in ice armor, so it's a little strange not to have at least one, especially since it works on buildings, although they haven't been getting pushed a whole lot, but I do want to talk about that a bit. What's your thought? Oh, see if they actually can get this around before Moonlight Shadow procs, and they do not. So we have, correct me, so tell me what other heroes are there that I'm missing. Treant that can affect towers. Treant, Protector, can heal them, and obviously block a little bit of damage, and then Lich can put armor on them. Are those the only two I'm thinking of? What do you think about that mechanic in general? Like being able to like prevent pushing for towers and buildings in particular.
Do you mean how I think?
Just the idea about the whole thing.
Was that a good buff to Lich, or just general in terms of the game?
Just general, yeah.
I think some people think it's stupid that you can defend towers, that there's so few heroes that can actually do it that way, but I feel like it adds some more strategic depth to the game that you have abilities that can do that. Because before syndereN could do it and before Lich could do it, since there was nothing that could protect the towers, maybe you could say it was a missing mechanic in a sense in the game, being able to do that. Sure, you've got protection from the Glyph of Fortification, and actually Omni Knight's ultimate with
that's
Ags
true. I just
does
thought
it
I
too.
went right when you said fortification. Yeah.
Yep. That's the third one that can do it. So it kind of came in a wave where it was like they started getting the idea that maybe we should have something that can protect towers. So first we got living armor doing it, then we got the Axe upgrade for Omni, and now we have the ice armor. I feel like it's cool that we get another layer in that sense.
I feel like there's
And
so
it
many
adds more
items.
appeal to Lich.
Well, I shouldn't say so many items, but there's 2 items in particular that help with pushing towers directly with minus armor. There should be something to counteract it, at least to some degree. And now we have 2 heroes.
And you're of course speaking of Deso and Kiras.
Yes.
Right, yeah. And there's nothing else, I believe. So, yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
But don't overestimate what it means, because when you look at the towers, let me just go to free camera to see this. So the tier 4 towers have 30 armor. The tier 3 towers have 25. The tier 2s have 20 armor, and the tier 1s have 20 as well. So relative to that, if you think about what ice armor does, it gives 9 armor on level 4. So it's not like the towers become absolutely insanely tanky, but it definitely does make a difference. But
I
it's
think
also
it's
not
more for the
completely out of
debuff
this world.
than anything, to be honest.
Huh? Yeah, the slow?
Yeah.
I still think the armor is better than the slow is in terms of defending towers, but it definitely adds to it because that slows down the push even further that they get the attack speed debuff, of course.
Well, at the same time, we can't really compare this to syndereN. I think syndereN Protectors is by far way better for buildings, not even close.
In some cases, that's the interesting part.
Most cases, I would say.
Living armor on towers is generally terrible if the enemy team is already pushing it.
Oh, true.
Because then the instances just go off. It's amazing between pushes because then you heal the tower up again. But Liches is good during pushes because then you get the slows and the tower lasts longer, whereas living armor, 6 damage sources immediately just go off and you can't really do it anymore. So I think this is cool. And we didn't really talk about this. Neil skilled on level 9, so he did take 1 more point in sacrifice, which I think was okay here. They didn't really need the ice armor yet. And more sacrifices, of course, just more mana, more experience. Don't underestimate that too. You level faster when you level this earlier.
Oh, big plays. Neil taking the arrow
Frost,
again.
Maybe.
Oh, it's bouncing
He's
on the
getting lucky. It's
neutrals.
bouncing on the camp here, and actually Vacuum's going to do some more.
It's still bouncing. I wish I could see. I wish I could see. Doesn't
Again,
look like it,
to
though.
me, it seems a little bit... My main point of criticism about Neil's Chain Frost, apart from that really good one he had, is that it seems he uses them really, really early. And often it's better to wait for the fight to develop to get the enemies into a position where it's going to bounce better. And this time on the Tiny... Oh, he takes the arrow again. This time on the Tiny, it was really obvious that he was going to run away, because he was getting opened on with with Frost Blast and I think Chaos Knight. So his immediate instinct is going to tell him to run away. So he basically just carried the Chain Frost over to a neutral camp, which, if that neutral camp was farmed, it probably wouldn't even have bounced. So again, sometimes hold on to it for a bit. It's generally only good to use it right away if you secure the kill before the enemy can even respond, because then it makes a big difference. For example, if Neil could have killed Tiny so he didn't get Avalanche Toss-Off, then maybe it's worth expending the Chain Frost instantly. But else, sometimes hold on to it, let the fight develop, especially if you have better synergy than his team does. But
oh wow, he actually...
Vacuum, this darts is good.
He actually wants to go for Force... I know he doesn't. Okay, he changed his mind. At least he thought about going Force Staff. I appreciate that.
No, the bad thing about that is he thought about going Force Staff, which would have been great, and then he decided against it and got something that's not as good.
Oh no.
He's done for.
Yeah, he's orchided. Can't do anything. Poor Neil. Poor Neil.
So Force Staff is obviously pretty good in this game because they're playing against Lion, so you can force the Hex target away. Since when you're Hexed, you can still turn your hero, which is a really important characteristic about that skill in comparison to most other disables, is your ability to move, and especially to turn. That means Force Staff is an excellent counter to Lion.
Great against Viper as well.
It's good against Viper. It's good against Tiny because his Avalanche actually has travel time. So you can force someone out while Avalanche is midair. Or also after they get hit by the first couple of shards, you can still just force them away.
Neil's just pulling a SUNSfan this game. He's tanking every arrow. I tank every arrow and every hook.
Oh, me too.
Playing.
It's the same.
Oh.
I do that as well.
Okay, we should play in a game against a Mirana and a Pudge and a Clockwork.
I hate that. Those are the worst games. I hate playing against Pudge and Mirana.
you always have to like worry about, even when you're in Fog of War, it's like, is there a creeper in the trees? Well, I mean, heroes like that, they just change the way you play. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
They do.
that's the biggest thing about this. Just the threat of them is bigger than the actual hook or arrow, unless you're me, you, or Neil, who tank every single one anyway. He's doing a good job counter warding and buying wards in general, so he's playing well as a support overall.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that a little bit. So we talked about the lane supporting, and of course now we're reaching the mid game where, I mean, warding is important in any stage of the game, but when you get to this point, it's really important that your team is helping you out with warding, because going alone into the darkness is often really scary. But what Neil is doing well, like you said, is that he is either seeing or predicting where the enemy is warding and counter warding it really effectively. He might even find this one. Maybe not. He can't see that right now, but if he goes up the hill, he'll actually see it now. Very nicely done. That one is almost expired, but at least he gets the 50 gold, which is great. So, one thing you want to think about when you're playing support is you want to ward for the occasion, which is something we haven't really talked about in other gameplay guides I've been on, because this is the first one we're looking at the support role. But the way you're progressing in the game with the support, you should ward in a way that fits the situation you're in. So right now, I would say their team is doing pretty well. They have a good pushing lineup with Phantasm and Exorcism. So Neil should be trying to ward aggressively to set them up for the towers, like the ward he has in the top part of the map at their tier 2 top, which will allow them to push that tower soon. That's a really good ward right now.
Oh boy, Moonlight Shadow initiation from the opposing team. But really the threat of the Death Prophet ult is everybody's tanking arrows in this game. But the teamfight capabilities from Neil's team just prevent initiation, really. I mean, they're not going to want to go in that pit with all these abilities, especially the Chain Frost with Vacuum combination, which is actually ridiculous if you can pull it off.
Daxia wasn't even there, though.
That is true. Alright, well, they didn't know that, though.
They didn't know, no.
They just assumed. But yeah,
so
like
here is...
This is the first... Sorry, this is the first support role that we're doing. Of course, Lich, obviously, as we talked about in the guide, he can play offlane with some of the best of them. So, I mean, I wouldn't put him in the classification as like a Centaur or, you know, Timbersaw or something like that, but he's still relatively good in offlane.
In some games, he's a phenomenal offlane. And one of the advantages for Lich offlane is that he can keep messing with the creep equilibrium, which is something other offlaners struggle with. So he can actually be run fairly decently on the dire offlane, in comparison to a hero like Centaur, who can be completely locked out of the fight or out of the lane. Lich can always get experience. That's his strength with Sacrifice. So, want to talk a little bit about...
wow, that is a long Waning Rift. Holy...
That's not called
Reality
Waning
Rift.
That's called Reality Rift.
God, I always... I corrected myself, okay? It's allowed. There's a rift in there. There's 2 rifts in this game. One's for Puck, one's for freaking Chaos Knight. He did get his point booster, so he'd be a little bit more survivable. Needs to make sure he's close to... I don't think he's been mech'd once. I could be wrong. But like when he's getting owned, when he initiates on the arrow, like he's been doing, they haven't really been meching him from what I've seen.
So one point of criticism I have about Neil's play right now is he isn't using Ice Armor nearly enough. It's a 5-second cooldown. You want to keep it on your team the whole time. And if you're not sure about who has it, you can look at the shield above their hero, so you can see who it's actually cast on all the time.
Good God, this Mirana's going to work.
Doxer's diving here. So what high-level sacrifice allows you to do is... we'll talk about that after this fight. Let's see if Neil gets a good chain. Nice vac, but... Not really the right target for the Chain Frost here, I think. At least he hit twice on the Viper, which is something, but... A little better synergy. Oh, look, an arrow hit. A little better synergy with the Darkseer would have gone a long way there, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the Darkseer had actually a really good initiation, so... But I don't think... Neil wasn't too close. I don't think he could have gotten it off. I mean, you have to keep in mind, the range, it's decent. Actually, that's another thing we didn't mention. Axe actually upgrades the range as well. Forgot about that. That's actually a pretty good buff overall. Although you don't really have too much trouble initiating with Lich once you have it set up. Are these buybacks? How are these guys still alive? What is the deal here? Uh-oh.
Nice Bloodstone. Healed the entire team up.
Yeah, I thought that was a mech, but yeah, you're right.
So that would be a good mech.
Wait, who has the Bloodstone? Death Prophet then, huh?
Okay, there was another thing that just happened and that I want to talk about. So generally with Sacrifice, you want to sacrifice the melee creep, and there's 2 reasons for this in the lane. The melee creeps give more experience, so they also give more experience when you sacrifice them. And secondly,
Radiant's top tower is
they give
under
more
attack.
mana because they have more health than the range creeps. So think about sustaining yourself in the lane as whenever you can choose the melee creep. Nice, he denied that one. Maybe should have taken it.
Just take
But he wasn't feeling safe there. So keep that in mind. The second thing is
Who bought the second courier?
as far as the ice armor goes, they had that right in the start. I don't know why. As far as the ice armor goes, when you have a high level of sacrifice, you can sustain yourself constantly. Keep it running on all 5 heroes and sacrifice from melee creeps that are going in the wave. So
What if you're sacrificing right off the bat? Is it the range creep for like if you're in mid lane helping your mid?
sacrifice the melee creep.
You still sacrifice melee.
Yes.
Because the range pushes more, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's easier for the mid laner to control the equilibrium in his favor if he does have the range creep, whereas if you deny the range creep from him, he doesn't have that pushing mechanic to play around with for himself in his own favor.
Okay.
But that's a really good point. That's generally higher skilled. That's generally something that comes with quite higher skill, the ability to control the mid lane.
I want to mention what he just did. Game. Not that I'm the greatest warder of all time, but he put the sentry down, saw that there was a sentry from the other team, and then he put his regular ward down.
Yeah, so they know there's a regular ward now.
Right. You gotta
should have counter warded.
Like,
first,
there's no mind games being played here by Neil. He's just like, let's do it real quick. Oh, he didn't tank this arrow though. So
dodge the arrow. What you want to do as well is when you ward, you want to mix it up. Don't get predictable. Take new warding spots. It seems that in this game, Neil is using the same. I think he's used that ward spot like 3 or 4 times now, if I'm not mistaken.
I know how much he hates.
It is a good warding spot, but the area it covers, which you see is mainly the river and the top rune. You can place it in other spots around there that also sees the river and the rune, and then you're less predictable and maybe you don't get counter warded. And at the end of the day, for the support, it's not about having the perfect ward position. The more important thing is that it doesn't get countered, because then you have nothing. It's definitely better to have a decent ward than none. Of course, it's best to have the perfect one, but you can't really expect to have that all the time. Here comes Neil. This is a good chain frost
really
setup.
Good.
Very nice.
Vision here. They don't.
Unfortunately, they didn't have a sentry down there. That was a perfect chain frost if they had a sentry. But they're still gonna get both, I think. Yep. So nicely done. This is the type of area that chain frost is amazing, and those narrow paths like that slope right there makes it so easy to hit multiple targets.
If this was Heroes of the Storm, this would be the best ult in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
For people that haven't played that game, I guess we don't have to talk about it too much, but very narrow pathways everywhere.
Yeah.
From the little we've played.
Very little item based game.
Yeah, that as well. The Aghanim Scepter be built in.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, and again, keep casting ice armor. He's going to use it now. That's good. Sacrifices off cooldown. Use it on the melee creep immediately. Ice armor yourself again. Keep your mana flowing. Go to the rest of your team and ice armor them.
I'm not sure he knows about the ice armor on buildings, although I don't know if he's had the best opportunity to do it.
No, there hasn't been that good opportunity either. But it's really important with Lich that what I think appeals to some players in Lich as a support is that some people think that in some stages of the game with supports you just stall up and you feel like you're not doing so much. With Lich, you constantly have to keep things running. You have to have ice armor running on your team all the time. You have to sacrifice to regain your mana and to gain more experience. And you have to constantly harass in lane as well. So it's a hero that's very much based around being active all the time, which makes him, again, one of the best lane supports because he's able to harass so consistently, and makes him one of the better late game supports, actually. Even though he doesn't have hard lockdown, Chain Frost will often get really powerful later on in the game with either stopping channeling abilities because of the mini-stun, or breaking TPs, or when the team fights really start breaking out, there's a good chance you get a good Chain Frost. Ice armor is incredibly good in late game because the later the game goes, the more important armor and physical damage gets, because spells don't scale. So late game is generally dominated by either Scythe of Ice or heroes with physical damage. So ice armor is incredible.
What do you think about ice armor on creeps to slow the attack speed and move speed? Or I guess attack speed more than anything. That kind of slows the push if the opposing creeps are all attacking the same one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Sometimes you can do that. It adds a little bit of extra push to your own wave. If you're in that kind of game position where nothing is really happening and it's just about who pushes out the waves better, you can assist actually by frost armoring, or ice armoring, sorry, the front creep of your wave. Because, like you said, then all the enemy creeps will be slowed and your lane will automatically be pushing. Just remember, you kind of even it out if you sacrifice then, because then you have creep less in the wave. So if that's your goal, is to push, then don't use sacrifice. Keep that in mind. Here's actually a nice thing that Neil could do right now. If you're noticing Enchantress is running with that Satyr next to her, it's about to die. He should have sacrificed that. Then they would get experience for it. You can do that on any neutral creep that's dominated, actually. As long as it's on your own team, obviously.
That's an interesting mechanic.
When that Lich thing came out, oh, nice.
Surprised he actually dodged that one. Looked like it should have hit.
He's holding on to the Chain Frost now. This is good. He's still waiting. There's no reason to use it on the Mirana just yet. There wasn't a good opportunity there, so it was good that he didn't use it. And now maybe he could, but he doesn't have mana because of the EMP. Doesn't matter. Frost's Blast was enough. So actually, that interaction with being able to sacrifice creeps, when the changelog came out that Lich was able to sacrifice creeps, I was thinking Lich is going to be an absolutely absurdly strong solo mid if you have a lineup with Enchantress or Chen on your team. So then Lich would just solo mid, beat his opponent, and then once in a while Chen or Enchantress would just send in a big creep, give him full mana and experience. But it's not as good as I thought it would be. I thought it would be broken. But it's a cute play that you can do sometimes, sacrificing those creeps. And of course, keep in mind, the big creeps, especially when taken over by Chen, so they get the 300 HP bonus, can give you almost full mana. But
yeah, that's true.
Remember, you're taking it from your teammate, so make sure you're not messing up his amazing
at least
combo
Enchantress ones die. Chen, on the other hand, he loves them too much to let them die. That's actually something I wanted to bring up, is back in the day, Lich used to be, maybe more on the pub scene, but still, you don't see that anymore, a solo mid. So you think it's, I mean, you think it's kind of a cheesy type of strat, but do you think it's viable in any way?
In competitive games or in pub games?
Both, I guess.
I think Lich actually beats a lot of heroes mid. The reason it's not played so much mid is that he might not be able to make too much use of the advantage he gets. But I also think a lot of the time it's just people forget how good it actually is. Especially against melee heroes, Lich just destroys them, because they can't go in and farm. You always have mana for Frost Blast, and you keep harassing them away. Nice Chain Frost here, by the way. There's a creep wave for it to bounce on, so it keeps bouncing. Also, there are some illusions here. So you got the maximum bounces out of that. That's pretty good.
Well, he did a good job of knowing...
Not really the best camera right now. I think Neil should be paying a little more attention to the fights. This is more of a general thing than a hero thing.
I see a lot of people have that issue, actually. And I don't think Neil's had that problem until this game. It's kind of weird playing support. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
And maybe he's less confident and just feels like, I used my spells, run away!
He did a good job.
He actually is running away from his team right now. That's not good. He should be here and helping out, because they could be winning this fight right now with a little bit of difference.
It's a good ice wall. But
well, he's going to be the perfect player, come in and finish off the kill.
oh, tanking!
Oh, wow. That didn't hit.
Yeah, and Lich's hitboxes must be really small compared to everybody else's.
He's still gonna die.
And he's so fast.
You're dead, Neil. Nice. I thought he was gonna choose this game because of that. Nope. Okay.
Well, his Chain Frost wasn't the great. It was okay. He did it right before the EMP blew, and I think that was more important than anything. He knew he wasn't gonna be able to get out of that. He wouldn't have any mana. Even with sacrifice, it's not always the most consistent thing when you're in a team fight. That was fine. And his camera work post-death is just leaves much to be desired.
I like how he's just mousing over the Blade of Alacrity. Like,
it's like, I need you. I need you.
Okay, he's 100 goals short for the Ags, so he's gonna get that in the next fight.
His inventory is gonna be Tranquil, Ags, and nothing else.
So yeah, main points to be drawn from this game so far. Cast more than Neil does. Ice Armor and Sacrifice. Keep them running. For some it might seem tedious or get boring. Others will think it's interesting that you keep yourself going. I personally like playing Lich because of that. Because you feel like you're constantly doing something in the game. Even if fights aren't breaking out, you're helping out a lot. And secondly, more patience on the Chain Frost. I feel like he improved during the game. He had one good in the early game and a couple of mess-ups, but now he's holding on to it a bit more to wait for the setup, which is really crucial. Using it too early is just gonna, make it kind of... It's a terrible ultimate if it doesn't bounce. Let's put it that way. If you compare it to other skills, it really doesn't do that much.
Well, and in a lot of situations, we kind of alluded to this earlier, it's easy in most situations for the opposing team to make your ult bad, I guess is the best way to put it. So, although he's an easy hero, overall, his ult, like you said, that's what separates the terrible people from the really good ones, is his ult for the most part, I think.
And your ability to play very effectively in lane as a harasser if we're talking the support role. And of course, as I've said a couple of times now, keeping things going. He has ice armor off cooldown all the time right now. It should be on his whole team right now. This is going to be a good chain frost. Very, very nice setup here.
Oh, there we
that
go.
Is,
oh, Roshan, you bitch!
Roshan.
You bitch, Roshan. Why? That's the only downside. But hey, they're gonna team up. This should be the end. I'd be surprised if they don't finish here. Enchantress with her Ags just doing work. Oh, he's gonna get a gem. Maybe it won't be just Ags.
It's so cool to watch player perspective of Neil. I don't know. I can't get over it. So he picks up a gem and then he just mouse overs it. Like, what
did
I get?
What does this green eye?
Oh, shiny.
Of course, Neil's not a bad player at all.
He just keep it up.
He just acts like it.
You know, when you're gathering with your whole team, this is a mid-game kind of thing where team fights often break out in a planned manner, if we can say it that way. So you know it's coming. Those are the cases where you absolutely have to have ice armor on everyone on your team. There's no really good excuse unless if you have no way of getting mana back, but you will generally be able to sacrifice from somewhere. And generally that melee creep you sacrifice will not be as important as the grand total of 45 armor you can give your team by using ice armor 5 times. So now he's using it on DP, especially a hero like Death Prophet just benefits so much from it because it's the type of hero you have to commit on when she has ult on. You don't want to get slowed though. It's kind of... He gives her so much more tankability with that 9 armor and attack speed slow for the enemy. That
is a good point.
Has to be up every single fight.
What's the attack speed like? Untouchable level 4, ice armor level 4. Well, I guess ice armor doesn't scale in that regard, but still. You can't even attack, basically. You'd be sitting there just...
It's hard enough to attack Enchantress already. I don't think those extra 20 do the big difference. Yeah. He seems to be casting it a bit more now, which is good. Now, Chain Frost is off cooldown.
Goku gets cleaned up right away. They're going to continue pursuit upon Mirana. And actually, Reality Rift, otherwise known as Waning Rift, which we will now call it from now
he
on.
got outranged for the blast.
It's okay.
Ghosts don't give a fuck.
I could just use these ghosts to go up, straight up mid. I don't know how many times the opposing team has called GG. Actually, no, that's his own team. Bad manners right there. Stay at Fountain. Hey, actually, the Ag's one great benefit is it's a great fountain farming ability now.
Awesome. That's what makes an ability great.
It does.
It's the ability to win the game when it's won.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Fountain farming is part of the game. Apparently, it's going to stay the part of the game, so we might as well take advantage of it, I guess.
Dire's middle tower has
Use
fallen.
Ice Armor Neil, so you can end the game
Dire's
faster.
Middle barracks are under
Give
attack.
your
Dire's
armor
middle
and slow
barracks
to team.
has fallen.
No, only Chaos Knight gets it.
Dire's
Oh, he
middle
dropped the
barracks
gem, huh?
has fallen.
He just needs to use the TP, and my prediction will be correct. Come on, Neil. Get rid of that TP. You don't need it.
Dire's middle tower
And Chaos
is
Knight's been
under
getting
attack.
pretty lucky with his 50%
Dire's
chance
middle tower
on
has
his
fallen.
Phantasm.
Yep.
Pretty nice.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And yeah, they're going to finish up this game. So this was the Lich gameplay guide brought to you by Neil. Did he change Frost? Oh, he did, didn't he?
Yep.
He
That was a
wasted
pretty
it.
good one.
Gotta save it.
Total waste.
Gotta save it for Fountain, man.
Victory.
That's all that matters. Alright, so hopefully you guys learned how to play a support Lich. Thanks to Neil for playing this game. Obviously, wasn't perfect in any manner. Generally speaking, everybody thinks Neil's a terrible player. It's just not the case, unfortunately. He actually used to be, just a side note here, he used to be terrible with Pudge. And even though everybody knows him as a terrible Pudge, he's actually insanely good. I hate to break it to you guys. Insanely good Pudge. But his Lich is just okay.
I think he's 4.6k MMR, right? So he's definitely in the upper half. I think something like that. So he's definitely not a bad player by any stretch. But there's in these games, the really good thing about this series, I feel, is that Neil gets kind of thrown out of his comfort zone because a lot of these heroes he doesn't generally play. So it's kind of a new thing for him in some of the cases, and then we can give a lot of criticism and explain like what he should be doing differently. And the heroes that he's more confident with, he gets to show how to really put to use. But overall, no matter the scenario, as long as we get to cover the heroes, what they do, and yeah, no matter whether Neil plays them great or poorly, as long as the game showcases the hero's strengths and or weaknesses, it's fine. And I feel like even though Neil, to me, this was perhaps, out of the games we've done so far, this might, if not the worst performance from Neil, then probably the second worst. But that just, that doesn't really matter, because yeah, as I said, not really his comfort zone, and secondly, we got to talk a lot about what he could be doing differently. So I guess Neil also learned something from this.
Oh, you could say the same thing about the A to Z dual lane challenge that we've been doing. It's putting me out of my comfort zone for every single game, basically. But it's fun. It's
that
okay.
Shit's legit.
It is legit.
Having a lot of fun with that.
All right. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, SUNSfan and syndereN signing out.
I love this outro.
I do too, actually. It's really nice. I really like it when it turns black too. The black screen here. You guys watching this? The end of the game, end of the screen here, end of the video. Thanks for watching. Black screen, guys. Bye.
I love this outro.